Hey book fighters, it's Wednesday, it's Sarah, and I've just finished reading Harry Potter and Imagination, The Way Between Two Worlds by Travis Prinzi. Lauren, our Twitter conversation was just too great, I had to reference it, so yeah, that was intentional, that wasn't a mistake. Obviously the final version is correct. Well, not the final version, because I don't have the last end bit of Epic Awesome, but the part with all of us in there, that is pretty much final unless I can change something. I do still kind of want to have the screen caps from chats in there, but I currently only have 2. So, yeah, we need to have a chat sometime soon. The other thing is, I'm very, very aware of the very, very high levels of suckage of that music. I just kind of stuck that in because it was what I had. Yeah, so someone, not me, because obviously the music I created sucks, and someone among us who is actually musically talented, someone the rest of us have already decided, Dan, we want you to create music for our intro, because we want something that won't suck, and your stuff doesn't suck. So yay! You got voted for it. Congratulations. Yeah, if you can't, you better have a good reason. So the final should be about 10 seconds right now. It's a little over 8, because that end bit isn't in yet. But it will be, and it will be awesome. So, on with the video! By saying, I've been wanting to read this book for a really, really long time. I first heard about it on the author's podcast, the Hogshead Pubcast, which I will put a link to down in the bookshelf. So, I became very, very interested in reading this book. Because this book is about, obviously, Harry Potter and imagination. It's Harry Potter as a fairy tale, and what the books have to say on imagination is essentially, it talks about a lot of different stuff in here, but that's the essence of what it is. And it also, in doing so, it compares Harry Potter to the writings of C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, G.K. Chesterton, George MacDonald, and Madeleine L'Engle, which I'm sure by now all of you have figured out C.S. Lewis is one of my favorite authors. Madeleine L'Engle is also one of my favorite authors. I enjoy all of the others, although I haven't read too much Tolkien just because I can't get through Lord of the Rings. I have so much difficulty with that. But anyway, so I was really looking forward to this book, and then I read it. And there was a lot of valuable things said in this book that I agree with, that are very interesting, and it gave me greater appreciation for Harry Potter, which is always good. But there were so many stupid little grammatical errors and typos, and it needed to be proofread. I doubt that it even was proofread, just because there was almost an error on every single page, and some of them were really bad. Like, for instance, the 2 that bugged me the most. 1. Misspelling of Floo powder. They are under my receipt. Floo powder. F-L-U-E. Now let's check that against the book, shall we? Goblet of Fire. F-L-O-O. And it's capitalized. Now, this is the US edition. Maybe it was originally different in the UK edition. Oh wait, I actually have the UK edition of this one. Thank you, Library Bookstore. Even though it's completely irrelevant, I would like to point out that this is one of the few cases in which I like the UK cover art better than the US cover art. So, yeah, that's not relevant to anything at all. But moving on, let's check it in there, shall we? Once again, F-L-O-O. 2 pages after that one, which I think is why they just both stuck out so strongly, because they were such annoying errors so close together. Talking about Rowling and Tolkien, and saying that J.K. Rowling said that she read Lord of the Rings when she was about 20. And then he quotes the interview in which she... right there. And then after that is this quote from the interview in which she reportedly said this. Except you read this quote, and it says, I have read The Lord of the Rings, though. I read that when I was about 14. 14 and 20 are not the same thing. Speaking as a 20-year-old, I guarantee you, 14 and 20, there is a difference. She goes on then to say that she was 20 when she read The Hobbit, but The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are different. Just like 14 and 20 are different. So, yeah. That's just, there were like literally 3 sentences in between it. So I find it difficult to recommend this book. I can't just straight out say you should read this book. It's an excellent book, even though there are a lot of really valuable things in this book. And it's very interesting, and I really, really want to be able to, but I just can't because the grammar bothers me so much. And I know pretty much all of us have this thing about grammar, and we want it to be correct. Like, I've spent 15 minutes trying to figure out, should I be using who or whom in this tweet? Just on Twitter, not even anything I'm formally writing, just tweeting things. So I want the grammar to be correct, and it was very difficult for me to get through this book because there were so many errors. It was annoying. And while we're on the subject of annoying things, this cover art. Yeah. I haven't really, that I remember, I don't think there's been a cover art that I've had a lot of major issues with so far. There's been some that I loved, some that I was okay on. This one I hate. Like, when I first saw this on the internet, I saw it from, it was about that big, maybe. If you look at it from here, it's not great, but it's not terrible. It's got a picture of King's Cross Station, platform 9 3/4. Which, makes sense. The subtitle is The Way Between Two Worlds, and that's a very prominent thing in this book, platform 9 3/4. It is, after all, the entry point to the wizarding world that Harry goes through his first time going to Hogwarts. And it factors in very importantly, as most of us know, in the end of Deathly Hallows is a different sort of in-between place. So, this makes sense. This is great. Except it's kind of boring. But even that, I'm okay with that. I don't hold non-fiction books to as high of a standard for cover art as I do fictional books, for the simple fact, fictional books have to have good storytelling in their cover. Non-fiction books, not as much. They should still, however, have good design. This does not. Look at these fonts. Just look at them. They're awful. And I'm not a huge into typography person. That's not my thing. Photoshop, however, is my thing. It's really, really, really my thing. This cover looks like it was done by someone just learning how to use Photoshop. No, actually, probably Photoshop Elements, and just discovered layer styles, which are one of the things that people who use Photoshop a lot really, really hate, like that and the automatic filters. Layer styles. And just kind of dumped every different layer style, not every different layer style, but a lot of different layer styles and patterns within the text that no one sees unless you look really closely, and you probably can't even see them right now and think I'm completely crazy, but even the subtitle has a pattern in the text, and I know you can't see it on the camera, but really, it looks bad. It's way too much, and I would be fine with this, preferably with a different font, but hey, it's not Papyrus or Comic Sans, so I will accept it. The color layout, it's fine, it stands out, it's clear, but oh god, please, make the layer styles at least a bit more subtle. Anyway, that's that book. It has valuable things to say. I highly recommend the podcast of this author. If this is something that's really super interesting to you, then I would say read it. If it's something you're kind of on, don't read this. You will never get through it. The grammar is just too annoying. Ugh. San Francisco is weird in that its summer starts at the end of September and goes into October instead of being actually in summer like it's supposed to be. So it is really, really hot right now. So, yeah. I completely forgot to record this earlier, so I'm recording it now. Last week, if you recall, I said I was intending to read Fahrenheit 451, but couldn't because the library didn't have it. So I read Harry Potter and Imagination instead as my backup book, intending then to read Fahrenheit 451 this week. That didn't happen. I'm not going to be able to get it until at least next week. So, for this week, I will be reading 2 books. Yes, 2. First is Child of the Dark Prophecy, and I will also be reading Shadow on the Stars. These are the first 2 books of Great Tree of Avalon by T.A. Barron. So, Katie, I'll see you tomorrow. Or really later today, since it's now 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm recording the last little bits to edit this and then upload it. Yeah, have fun punishing me!